Hey everyone. So this is May, one of the hosts of Simvivor, and I'm with three of my other hosts, Jack, Leafy, and Marcy. And basically, as we've spoken about briefly, we're going to be doing the top 114 players ranked in order from what we think is best to worst.
To best.
We've spent worst to best, but worst is like a strong word. From least best to most best.
Worst. Just say
and
worst.
Just objectively
Okay,
the
now.
worst.
Don't gotta
All right.
sugarcoat.
This is our opinions. Don't fight us.
Yeah,
We've
we've already
tried to keep
fought.
it
We've already fought
objective.
each other enough for this.
Oh my god, it's hell.
We've tried to keep it objective. We've tried to use as many opinions as possible. But again, this is still subjective to a point. But anyways, so we're going to start with number 114. Are you guys ready?
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes.
I think number
Alright,
114 should have been number one. But
I agree,
whatever.
but we'll get there. Yeah.
Number 114 is our queen, our goddess, our mascot, Gwen Rose.
Can't believe this. She was robbed.
They don't
She
need an
was
introduction.
robbed.
If we're gonna talk about Gwen Rose quickly, I just want to give some amount of props to Garrett for doing the first 4 seasons basically on his own, because being a host is fucking hard, and he did daily. So I don't know how
that
he
was
did that.
impressive.
Yeah.
It's impressive because not only did he host everything, but he also played
He also
the game
won.
that he was hosting. Wow. Do you know how
Good for
hard it is to
him,
win
yeah.
on top of hosting?
That's true. But no, there's not much more to say than he altered as her, and then when we caught him, he deleted the whole server.
Yeah,
So-
basically that's
Yeah,
how
pretty
powerful
much.
she was. So for those who are lost, Gwen Rose was an alt of the old host of this server, and when we worked out that she was not actually a person and exposed that whole thing, this old server was deleted, and here we are. And so next, we're at 113, and that was CDS from Marquesas, I believe.
He was on my tribe.
I don't know
Do you have
anything
anything
about
to
him.
say about him, Leafy?
He was never online. I don't know if it was a work thing. When I mean never online, I mean we all sent him messages the first day. He wasn't on. We were about to lose the first challenge, but then Garrett just said challenge is over, CDS is getting medevaced because he hadn't been online up until that point. So it just felt like we started down one.
So it wasn't a quit? I thought it was an official quit.
It was a
thought
quit
he
slash
quit.
medevac, but I think he talked to Garrett saying that he couldn't play. But he never talked to any of the players. Is my point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not much
next,
to
Did
that
one
one.
confessional.
Oh, wait,
he
sorry,
did a
what?
confessional.
Yeah, he did one confessional saying, "I can dominate the game," but
Oh wow, that's more than I've ever heard from him, and same with all the
Yeah.
others I've talked to.
it was on day one.
Yeah, no, there's not much to it more than just with these quitters are going to be very brief because they just quit. That's it, pretty much.
Right.
Next, we have Deli, who
Deli
again
Bird
was
Delight.
another quit. She was from Pearl Islands, and I believe she quit after the first tribal. So she did go to a tribal. She did have a social game, but then before or after she went to tribal again because their tribe lost, she quit.
Technically,
Is that
she
just
was
about
she
it?
was ahead of the curve because she was smart enough to know that Drake was stuffed, and
Yeah.
just thought, I don't want to deal with going to tribal every day. I'm just going to get out now.
Well, the main thing I know about Della is she could not stand Thomas. I didn't know why. But that's one thing.
I'm not sure why either. Yeah.
Well, at least you knew who Thomas was.
True.
Yeah, unlike another person.
We'll get
Better
to that in a
than
few
some other people
episodes.
on the
Yeah.
All right.
Alright, moving on,
and
May.
next we have our next quitter, which is Fight. I
Best
found
quitter.
Fight, the most interesting quitter, I'd say, because he knew he was at the bottom of the tribe, and basically Tambaki, which was the men tribe in Amazon, they just exploded for like no particular reason because, well, Triple Six, there was a big majority alliance made without TML, and Triple Six basically leaked it to TML, and TML leaked it to the whole tribe that he knew about it. And so when Fight got the blame, Fight not only got really upset, but he started like getting screenshots of his conversations with TML and trying to use that to prove that he didn't do anything, which is against the rules, basically.
He lived up to his name.
I mean, once he got called out for it, I remember he dropped him in tribe chat too, and he's like, "Okay, now it's pretty clear that I've cheated." Because
Yeah,
I
it's
do
like
remember
now
having
I'm
a conversation with him, and he's like, we're like, "You can't really do that," and he's like, "Oh, I can't really do that." So he then dropped it in tribe chat. He's like, "Okay, nothing left to
And I
question
think
anymore."
Yeah, no,
think
he dropped it
Savvy
in tribe
mentioned
chat. He dropped it in tribe chat and was like, "All right, look, I'm cheating. You guys have to evict me now." And we're like, "What? I guess we have to now." Like,
I think it was like Savvy who mentioned it too. He was like, "Why are we doing this on day 2, guys?"
Right.
It was so crazy.
Dude,
Yeah, you know
seriously,
what?
right away.
He went down with the fight. He was like, "I'm not getting voted out. I'm going to make the host pull me out by cheating." Like,
go off.
go off, King. And so that's the end of all the quitters, actually. And next we have just the general inactives. Starting at 110, we've got Gara from Borneo, who
He would have been
didn't.
king of the.
Sorry, what was that?
He would have been the king of the season at another place.
He would have if he spoke to more than one person. He only spoke to Banjo about the vote. Like everyone else sent him like a hello, hi, and he didn't bother responding. And then, but he and Banjo had come up with some plan, but even their plan had like flopped because they didn't end up voting together anyway. So, yeah, he just didn't do much. He didn't talk. He didn't do the challenge, and so that's where he is.
Hey, at least he voted.
It's
At
true.
least he voted.
Yeah.
A lot of self votes that will come across. So like,
At least he
that's something to
voted.
hang your head on. Yeah.
Right. He did play the game.
And someone else who voted and played the game and was a robbed king is 109.
Oh, the legend of Survivor himself.
Yes, this is my player right here. This was my number one, quite honestly.
Ian.
You could do a
I'll
whole.
let you guys go off.
You could do a whole podcast about this one guy.
We
Honestly,
really
have
could.
you know that video that I keep linking of like the Stan teen? I watch that like almost daily. It's my favorite thing.
That's my ringtone.
That video.
I love it, and I don't know how he became so legendary or how he did this. I know that when he applies to orgs on interview questions, he just copies and pastes the same answer for every question, even
Yes,
if it doesn't
sir.
apply.
I think he started gaining popularity because he would just apply to so many orgs, and then people just started recognizing, like, hey, this guy is really interesting.
Yeah, but like he would apply to all the orgs and then just do nothing,
Yeah.
and then what a god! All
What a
right,
god. I sleep with his
Every iconic server
picture
has those.
underneath my pillow.
Mm.
And then 108 was Ben from
Marquesas.
Marquesas again.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
the one with the come on, do something.
Oh, that's right. The guy who still hasn't done my exit interview. Basically another inactive Leafy.
He wasn't on my starting tribe. He was on the other starting tribe. From what I understand, another inactive. He did try to push back with trying to get a Koros vote going, but I know Koros is pretty popular on his tribe, so that didn't work very well at all.
And then next, oh, actually, no, I do remember that. I think Ben wasn't the original vote, even though he was super, super inactive. He wasn't the original vote, and people were actually going to vote Chorus because Chorus rubbed a few people the wrong way. And then a
Right.
bunch of the people who were in that majority alliance were like, why are we voting out someone who actually did the challenge as opposed to someone who doesn't really exist? And so then it flipped onto Ben. And I do think Ben self-voted. I'm pretty
I
sure
believe
Ben
so.
self-voted.
I'm pretty sure as well.
Ben self-voted. All right. So nice try, Ben. And at 107, we have someone from Aussie Outback, and that's someone else who hasn't done my. Oh no, Michael. Okay, so this is Michael, and he did do the exit interview, and I remember finding it hilarious because Michael spoke more in the exit interview than he did to anyone else in the tribe.
King.
It's actually like respectable though. He just didn't want to deal with their bullshit.
Right. I feel
Mm.
that.
Know
I
your
wish I
worth.
had the
No.
balls.
He was just really busy. I remember him saying he was like, I signed up, but then I got really busy and I didn't get to like play, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
had like
no, like
school or
that-
something.
That's fine. Like I don't like this list is based on like objective gameplay. So if you have like if you were busy and like I feel like we'll see in a couple players from now or like have like health issues, obviously like take the time first for yourself. Like this org doesn't it's not the be all end all. Just
Right,
go
life
like live
comes
your life.
first. This is the best place to have fun when your life enables you to. So if it doesn't, then always take that first. We're understanding of that.
Mm. And yeah, so Michael was one of those. And but to his credit, he, unlike Ben or Gara, he actually like spoke to people. He like got in a majority alliance. He was saying hello to people. And then he just kind of dipped after a few days. So to his credit, he tried.
Okay.
Next, at 106, we have someone who played in Africa, but because Africa doesn't exist, he played again in Pearl Islands. And this is Slitnut.
Fall from
Oh,
grace
which
from
other
3rd to
one?
16th. I couldn't believe it.
He was another one who was screwed by like outside influence. Like he was
Yeah.
like he was on a camping trip, and I also remember him talking about his amazing race org.
Yep.
Yeah, he was trying to host it.
Oh.
And he does like the amazing race org he does is like live. So he like tries to stay up till like 3-4 a.m. every day to like do all the commands and shit. Like very dedicated, but then just didn't have the time for that. And what I will say is that he got SMM's vote on the Outcast tribe to get back in. So despite everyone else voting SMM, he did have some sort of social pool to get one vote over everyone else who didn't get any. But just being gone on like a lot of these people, you leave on the wrong day, and it just goes downhill.
It just takes that one day, right? It takes either it's the right day or just finally it's that one day that you're not there that everything crazy happens.
Exactly, and not just that, but like especially with the old way that the server would run, where it was like daily stuff. So if you're gone for
yeah.
a day,
You were
there's
done.
no chance to come back. Yeah.
It spirals quick.
Mm.
One wrong move or just not being there for a move is just spells the end.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we have at 105, Gabby, also from Marquesas. What I remember about Gabby, I don't think she was on your tribe, Leafy, was she? She was on Roti.
She was not. She was on the other tribe.
Yeah. So I remember she started really strong. Like she was really into the org. She was like making friends with everyone. Like people really liked her. And then within a day or two, she just suddenly became quite inactive. And so like we approached her. We were like, "Hey, are you okay?" And she just said that like she's like she didn't quit, but she did say that she's got a few health problems that she wants to deal with, and so basically gave her tribe permission to vote her out. And so she was officially voted out. But yeah, she more or less quit.
Gotcha. Okay.
One of those other ones where it's just like you got to focus on yourself first, and it's
Right.
okay to.
Like we get it. The tribe was sympathetic too, so just overall unfortunate timing.
Yeah. And then 104 we have Lewis.
Oh, this
from
was the first.
Thailand.
This was the first official vote out on the new server.
Yes.
Oh, exciting!
Starts a new
But it
era.
was a self vote too.
Yes, it was.
He literally self voted himself.
No, it was. I thought because Gwen Rose came 14th and he came 15th.
No. Lewis was still on the old server. He was still voted out on the old server, and it was
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah,
Hunter
he was-
Oh wait, Hunter was the last vote out that Garrett held.
Yeah, and
yeah.
then Lewis,
We did
Lewis
Lewis's on the other server.
And
Oh
then
yeah,
Gwenrose
that's
came
when
back and
everything
deleted the
happened.
server, and
Yeah,
then
okay.
we made the new one.
Yeah,
But
there were
yeah,
two
he was
self votes that vote.
Yeah, he literally made a parchment.
No, three.
and put,
There were
like,
3 self votes that vote, right? Yeah, there were
yeah,
3
Yeah, I
self
think
votes.
Thailand was a bit
Madeline
of a
Madeline self
mess.
self-voted.
voted.
So many self
Madeline,
votes.
Gwenrose, and Lewis self voted in 1 vote.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I mean,
And
if you
yeah, he basically said, "Take me away." Like,
He was like, "I'm not done. I'm not done."
it's like the opposite of the I'm not done. It's just I'm done.
I'm done.
Goodbye.
Bye. That was it.
and there's not much to say about him really. Like he wanted to go, but I think Lewis, if Gwenrose wasn't an alt and a person, I think he would have done fine because I remember him, Gwenrose, Bite, and like Hunter, like they were sort of thinking of having something going on. But anyway, Lewis felt all the alting scandal coming and he was like, "Take me away. I'm not here for this." Which leads us to
King.
103, another Thailand folk. This is Noah.
So from what I remember about Noah, he had a decent position. He was aligned with Madeline and with Cassie, though wasn't the most active. And I mean, they were just unlucky and on the Chewy tribe, which lost everything they touched. So even those relationships didn't last them till the merge.
Chewy Gan is like the luckiest tribe in the world that they went before Drake, because no one remembers how bad they were because of how bad Drake
Yep,
was.
how bad Drake
Yeah.
is, right?
I
It's
think
not.
Shuigan
Yep.
was probably worse.
Oh, they definitely
Yeah, I
were.
think so
Yeah.
too.
Because at
Like
least,
the
just like-
fact
at
they
least
only
Drake tried.
won because of Scott.
Yeah,
At least Drake tried. You know what I
pretty
mean?
much.
Mm.
All right, moving on.
Moving on at 102, we have Hunter, who was the first boot from Thailand again. And I feel bad for Hunter because Hunter tried really hard to save himself. But I think
Plus
he
he
was
was-
just. Yeah, sorry.
Plus he was like brought in as an extra after, like in the middle.
So like
not
4
like
of
in
the
middle
alts.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, when a bunch of alts were like found and kicked out, the same person who alted anyway, Hunter was brought in as a replacement. But because people had already started talking to each other and getting to know each other, like it was already quite at the bottom. And the other two people that had joined the tribe with him were Madeline and Cassie. And Madeline and Cassie have quite like solid social games. So in comparison to them, Hunter just paled. So I felt
Right.
bad for him. But at the same time,
No Madeline stay.
yeah. I feel like if
think
he'd been a bit more social and active as soon as he joined, he would have stood a chance.
But with how Madeline ended up playing, I think that it was a better for the season that Madeline was able to stick it out.
Right.
Yeah. And then at 101, we have Noah, and this Noah is from Pearl Islands. I believe he was on the tribe that just kept winning. He was always on
Morgan.
the outs and the bottom.
Morgan.
Yeah, Morgan.
Didn't really matter though, because they just kept winning everything, right? They had the Drake
Yeah.
tribe.
Yeah.
I remember him.
Well,
he was like also the case of being in like a lot of orgs, I think, at the time. So he
I
wasn't
think so, yeah.
able to put in all his effort on this one.
Yeah, I briefly spoke to Joey about it, and Joey said he's very good friends with him, very good dude, but didn't have the time for this org and just was inactive.
Right, and I
Yeah.
think it's pretty easy to feel like it's okay to be inactive when you're on a tribe that just keeps winning too. I mean, it doesn't deserve all your attention, right? And then finally, when it did deserve his attention, I think it was a little too late. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
agreed.
there's like a big stigma around like how Survivor doesn't start until you lose your first challenge, because
Right.
then that's when all the strategy kicks up. Because you go too hard too early, you're a target. You go too slow, you're a target. It's just good to find that medium, and he didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, lines are drawn at the first tribal.
Yep. Oh, baby, yes they are.
All right. And so then at 100, we've got Nathan from Aussie Outback. He was not on your tribe, Marcy, I don't think.
No, I know nothing about him.
Jack, do you remember much?
He wasn't on my tribe.
Okay, so I'll quickly run
Right.
over him. Basically, the start of Ogre Corps, which was the Green Tribe in Aussie Outback, was Hugh versus Nathan. Both of them were like control freaks, and both of them really wanted to run their tribe. But when Nathan just didn't quite match up, was that Nathan was less active than Hugh, and during the challenge that they needed him to win the most, he suddenly dipped, even though he said he could do it because it was a live puzzle challenge. He dipped,
Oh, I
and
remember that. Yeah.
he dipped. He didn't show up, and so it gave his tribe a very easy excuse to vote him out. So he was not quite as assertive as Hugh. He wanted to be, but he just wasn't. And because he flopped at the challenge, everyone just came after him.
Do your challenges, kiddos.
Yeah.
Do your challenges. It's because if
keep
your
you
tribe
alive.
loses because of you, it's messy.
It's your fault.
Yeah. It's like Real Survivor as well. It's a very easy, visible
It is so easy to point to
detriment.
someone and they didn't do challenge. We lost. Haha, it's
Yeah.
their fault.
Exactly. Even if you're like,
It's an easy
even
way
if
to
they're
get
like
some.
the best social game,
Yep.
especially at the start of the game. I know that Nathan came 13th, but I'm just going to allude to just like at the start of the game where literally it's almost like the first name thrown out is the one because no one wants it to be them. So if you give them an excuse to vote you, they will vote you. So do your challenges, kids.
Yep.
Do your challenges, kids. Also makes production feel better because we plan them out and everything.
Oh God,
Anyway,
yes.
Yeah.
99, Winston, who again, like this guy, he was actually doing quite well in his tribe. He was in a good spot.
Isn't Winston about to be the best player of all time?
Yeah. He still is.
That's what he's been
Yeah.
hating for Vanuatu.
Yeah.
I actually played with him in an all-star season for a different arc.
Ooh.
So he definitely has it in him. I do remember, I think it was Scott defending him, saying that. So Scott invited him to the org, but then he had so many orgs going on that he just couldn't commit to this one. Same deal as
Yeah.
Noah from Pearl Islands, which
Yeah,
is
Winston had
unfortunate
been.
because I've seen what he can do. The guy can do some damage.
Winston
doesn't
had
have
been
a-
in a good spot in his tribe, and then what happened was he just suddenly disappeared one day.
Right.
Like he
I
didn't do
forget
the challenge.
he was like busy doing something. I don't know exactly what, and it just screwed him.
Yeah, he just went completely offline. He didn't vote. He didn't do the challenge, and so because no one could communicate with him, they were like, "Let's just vote Winston." Marcy, I think you were saying something. I think I interrupted you.
Oh, I was just saying that he didn't even have that bad of a placement. Like he was obviously like into the game and made it like not like an inactive first or second boot. He was like he had his footing and then just like we keep saying, it's just the wrong day. Sometimes things
Yep.
happen on the wrong day.
At 98 is someone else from the Amazon, and her name is Scoob.
Not to be confused with someone else.
Not to be
Yeah.
confused with Scooby. This is Scoob.
Meme queen. She's amazing on the memes.
Yes, she is.
Yes, she is. I love Scoob. So from what I remember, she was sort of on the outs of her tribe to begin with because I remember there was like a vote. The vote had initially been on Navi. Navi spun it onto Alicia, and everyone knew about this except for Scoob. Like no
Yeah.
one bothered to tell her that the vote had changed. And then afterwards, and the thing that dumbfounds me, like genuinely boggles my mind, was that Princess had told Scoob. So it had basically been almost unanimous, but two people had voted Navi, one being Scoob and one being Alicia, who had been voted out. Princess somehow convinced Scoob that Alicia had self-voted and that Princess had voted Navi as well, and that Princess was on the outs as well. And Scoob just believed her. Like Scoob, I remember Scoob's confessional. She was like, "Thank God I have Princess on my side. Like I know that if I'm at the bottom, at least Princess is with me."
It's
And
so
so-
unfortunate when you see that happening, and you like the
So
viewers can see
sad.
it, and they're like,
You're just like,
"Oh
no, don't listen.
Yeah, you're like, "Oh no, it's gonna
Close
end
your
badly." Yeah,
And so then when there was a swap and it was a 3-3 split, the first vote actually Twigs went. So the girls had 3 and the boys had 2. But then the next time they went to tribal, Princess flipped and voted Scoob out, and it was heartbreaking because Scoob was like, not
Scoob was diehard
Princess, not my
loyal. Yep.
closest ally. It was just
it's always the
so
worst when it's the best one.
tragic.
Yeah,
Oh,
when the closest person to you is just not, and you're like, "Ooh."
It was a super unlucky swap for her, considering Princess had the connections with Savi and with Bailey that she wanted to try,
Mhm.
that she wanted to keep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, like that's old redacted season connections for any of the new kids here.
Right.
And I mean, we should have seen it coming with Bailey being able to pick out the tribes. But
Right.
still, poor
Yeah.
Scoob.
Mm.
Next, we have Dino. Or it's Dino, I'm pretty sure, because is it Dino or Dino?
I think
I
it's
said
Dino.
Dino, but whatever.
I think it's on the Pearl Islands podcast. He wrote a comment on how to pronounce it. I'll check that in a second. But for now, I'm just going to say Dino from Pearl Islands, who got 13th. And for me, well, someone correct me. Was this just kind of there was a pecking order in Pearl Islands,
Yeah.
and because they kept
They
losing
just kept losing.
challenges,
If
Sorted
Drake,
fairly.
if Drake are a decent tribe, he makes the merge because he survived
Yep.
what 1, 2, 3 tribals, which is how many you'd standardly like. If you were to do an even split, each tribe would lose 3 challenges before you get to merge. So if
Yeah.
on like a normal season, he would probably make the merge, but just unfortunate that his tribe sucked.
It's awful.
Yep. They
But
just
yeah,
kept
it's just
losing numbers
unfortunate.
and there wasn't to vote out. So.
Yeah, it happens.
it
Happens
happens.
to the best of us.
Poor Dino. He was such a big Survivor fan.
Did love his
Um,
episode titles.
Did love his
Oh,
episode
no.
titles. He gave us
Oh,
many of
no.
them.
He'd
Oh,
put it
yeah.
in. He'd put it in italics, and he'd go, "Ha
No,
ha."
it
But
was
And
what if
bold.
this bold? My bad.
bolded.
Folded, and he's like, "What if this was the episode title? Just what if?"
And then
What if?
and then we chose one of his, and he's like, "No, that's not the one I wanted. I think it should be this instead." And then we didn't do it again.
Look. Yeah. Be natural with your episode titles, guys. Be natural.
be-
Don't
if
force
you're-
them out.
Yeah, don't
Well,
like
if you're-
fold it or anything.
Not just that, but if you force a character that is like not you, I think the best characters in the game is you take an element of yourself and turn it up to 11. So if you're obviously trying to play for like quote unquote the camera, it becomes very, very cheesy very quickly.
We do read through all confessionals, and we do find things that we think are good episode titles. Like, you don't need to bold it. We'll find them.
Yeah,
Right.
find
Trust
them.
us. We spend a lot of time on this org, and a lot of that time is reading confessionals and seeing how people are enjoying the game or where their place is, and just trying to figure out what everything's happening.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, moving on from episode titles. I mean, Dino. 96, we have Aka, or AKA,
No,
who
Aka.
is
I
so
asked him.
Aka?
Aka, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Aka.
Who was from the Amazon and was basically one of 666's scapegoats, is how I would describe it. What about you guys?
Yeah, just a sweet kid that got taken advantage of by, in my opinion, a better player. Just sometimes when a player does a move like that is collateral, and unless you're at that same caliber of level and
You
are
just
able
get
to
eaten
flip it,
alive.
you just can't. Yeah.
I think it's hard too, because when we talk about Amazon players, the 2 most common names that come up for why they're out of the game are Princess and 666. Like, those 2 had such a massive impact on that season.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just like destroy like the Grim Reapers on each tribe, basically.
Oh, they were. Yeah. If you went home, it was probably one of those 2.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, basically, poor Arco was a sweet kid. Okay, social game, but there was just someone better who took him out.
Mhm.
And then we have Alicia from Amazon as well.
Amazon again.
Yeah.
Hong Kong.
Poor girl. Like the vote wasn't
Yeah,
even
she's
going
in
to be
Hong Kong.
her. And then she went to bed and everyone was like, let's change it to Alicia.
Not
Well,
to be a
what
broken
happened-
record, but was it Princess that started that?
Yeah, it was.
I think
Yeah.
Because
so.
Princess was really upset that Alicia, because Alicia's from Hong Kong, she started the challenge, which I believe was like a semi-live challenge that you had to start and
yeah.
do. She started
Yeah.
it before she went to bed, which was like 5 a.m. American time. And then the Princess was really upset about that, and she's like, she gave us no chance, blah blah blah. And then voted her out because of it, and was it being like she was the reason why we lost, even though like another reason, like this person even did her challenges but did it wrong. And like I said, like all you need is that one thing, especially in the first boot,
Oh
and
yeah.
someone will find a reason.
Mm,
Just anything.
exactly. I've been told a lot about Alicia, about how like everyone loves her in the community. Like she's a good player. And
Oh, she's
so I
so
think
good. I invited her here. She was like, because I played with her before this, and she was
Mm.
like
I played with
player
her
of the
too.
season,
She's
like
fun.
yeah,
It
ridiculously
was just
good.
a case like this just wasn't the right season for her.
Yeah.
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 Especially
That
the
happens.
24-hour, not the 24-hour, the 12-hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next
And
one. Next
so-
one.
94,
Oh,
we
no.
have one of our favorite
Oh.
players of all time. I don't know why he's not number one. Everyone knows him. Everyone loves him. It's our Lord and Savior, Jack from
We love
Aussie
Jack.
Outback.
Oh my
Jack,
We
do
God.
you
love
want to
Jack.
talk about yourself?
Yeah, I'll let you guys go off. I don't.
I
don't
can take
much
this because
to
I
say.
voted him out.
Yeah.
Ooh, Marcy villain, bad.
I
Tension.
actually like Jack. If like there's going to be a lot of Aussie Outback pre-mergers that we'll get through, and I feel like I'm going to become a broken record where I say I really like them, but I couldn't work with them, and I had to let them go. Just with the numbers, just somehow, I believe it was Teo just decided one day that it was just going to be Jack on the first challenge. Once again, Don didn't do the challenge, and everyone was like, "All right, Don, we'll go do Don." And then all of a sudden, Don and Sarcasm like joined, like they like did their fusion thing and became a duo, and brought on Teo. And then all of a sudden, Jack from Sitting Pretty was out of the game and did nothing wrong.
Literally. Yeah. I remember, Marcy, every single confessional of yours pre-merge, and even final 10 and final 9. It was like, I don't want to get this person out. I think I can work with them. I don't want to
But
rock the boat.
Yeah,
And
you can't do stuff too early, too quickly.
Mhm.
But
Jack,
whatever.
did
It's
you
just
see
like
your elimination
collateral.
coming?
Yeah, I did. I probably near the end. I was like, yeah, it's probably me, because I could see like the conversation I had with Don about it, where he was like, "Oh, I heard you're voting me." I was like, "Oh, this isn't good," and because that means he was obviously talking around, and people are telling him that I was going to vote him, and I was like, "Okay, let me just speak around," and ultimately it just didn't go my way because they had it like planned out.
I will
Yeah.
say is that if we were on a like all stars time thing, like 24 hours, I do think that you would have had an opportunity to save yourself, because you saw with a lot of the votes that we'll get to way later when we talk about some of the all stars people, is that the vote gets decided really quickly, but then because there's 24 hours, there's a lot of time for that to change. Not really the case here.
Yeah.
It's usually you find a name, you stick to it, and it's done.
I just think if Jack had survived that tribal, he could have made it quite far, I think.
But I do really like, this is going to talk about Jack, but also like quite a few people that we've already talked about, how it doesn't affect their activity in the server that they placed low.
Oh
There's a lot
yeah.
of people here that placed not that great, but are still a big part of the community, and I really, really like that about this server.
Right.
Yeah,
I
if
think
you're
it's cool how it's not just
active-
placements.
Yeah. So I was like active
And
here
Jack is
before.
the
so
prime example. It's not every day you go from first boot to being the host.
Yeah, the owner.
Yep.
All right, go on.
So at 93 is another Aussie Outback. We have Ethan. who was not on either of your tribes, but I just remember he was like the most anti-Hugh propaganda spreader from day one. Like Hugh and Ethan just rubbed each other the wrong way. So from there, Ethan voted Hugh every single tribal. And
I love that so much.
and the thing is, people really liked Ethan. People wanted to work with him. I remember Lisa liked him, Ant-Man liked him. Like, they all found him very sweet. But the thing is, when you've got such a fixed mindset and you only want to vote one person out, people find it quite hard to work with you. And so, because he kept targeting Hugh, which was someone who I remember Ant-Man and Lissa wanted to keep as a shield, it got quite like no one wanted to work with him because they don't want to vote Hugh out. And Ethan was being quite uncompromising. And so I believe that was Ethan's downfall. Like he survived it the first 2 times he tried it, but then the third time he ended up going.
Crazy.
Crazy.
I just think that he really had the opportunity to be a bigger player than he was, because, like you said, people really spoke highly of him, and then just got hive-minded and just wasn't the pick.
Mhm.
Got left at the altar.
Left at the altar. And then next at 92, we have Bite from Thailand, who was actually screwed over by the mutiny. I think. Well, kind of. Like, I remember, and someone feel free to pounce, but I remember there were 3 people left in Chuegan.
Yep.
Or maybe, no, there were
Yeah.
4 people left. And then Scott and JSF jump over. And instead of using Scott or JSF as an easy vote, the tribe kind of split, in which Bite was like, okay, we need to get Madeline out. And because Madeline catches wind of Bite trying to take her out, she's like, okay, I'm going to recruit these people who've just
The 2
come
new
over.
guys.
And I'm going to take out Bite. So it became very Bite versus Madeline. And Scott and JSF had all the power to decide who they wanted to work with. And because I think Scott felt closer to Madeline and Cassie, Bite ended up having to go.
Right.
Yeah,
it
I know
was
it's-
a 2-2 split, the boys versus the girls. You had Bite and 12 on one side, and you had Maddie and Cassie on the other side. And
Mhm.
I think it was Scott mostly that just felt closer, especially to Cassie.
Mhm.
And then just, the pieces fell as they may because Chuigan just kept losing.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
plus, I think it had to do with Scott and JSF assimilating themselves better in the tribe at the time. It at least allowed them to survive a couple votes.
Definitely.
And so then, 91, I think we have one of Marcy's favorites.
I love her so much. I don't know why she doesn't talk in the server. I want her back.
Queen Chloe from Aussie Outback.
I feel so bad for her. She got a worse rep than she deserves, honestly. She might not have been the most strategically influential player, but she did a lot of things when it counted, and was a good number. I guess you could say she was like somewhat of a goat, because
She was
she
a
didn't
comp
really. Yeah, she was a comp beast, but what didn't offer much in terms of like a direction. She was just like, all right, what do you want to do? Let's try to do that. But what I will say is that the Ulka vote, she switched that entirely on her own 5 minutes before the vote. If anyone remembers that, it was supposed to be
remember.
it was supposed to be Max, and she goes, nah, let's do Ulka, and everyone's like, all right, 5 minutes before the vote.
Yeah, 'cause she really liked Max.
Yeah, I thought it was just like she hid that one as well. It wasn't like I want to save Max because I like her. She like hid that card well. But what really hinders her with her placement here is that she got really time zone fucked when she had to go back to school, because she lives in New Zealand, which is like next to me and May. And if you know anything about me and May, it's that our time zones don't really match up that well to the Americans. So by the time that you needed to vote, she was in school and she couldn't exactly get on her phone or computer to vote. And she self-voted like 3 or 4 times before she
Post-merge,
eventually,
yeah.
post-merge as well, before she bit the dust.
And it would have changed so much if she had voted. Like, it's not her fault, obviously. But I think the game would have been so different because her one vote was the one that everyone needed at some point in time. Like, I think if she had voted, Danny would have gone earlier than he did. And if that didn't happen, then Marcy would have stayed. Like, it's just messy.
There's a whole collateral there that happens, and it's crazy.
The game just changes.
Yeah.
Anyway, next at 90, we have someone I'd been really looking forward to seeing play.
Yeah.
And they did fall a bit flat because they were super inactive. And that was Yugi.
Yeah, I think Yugi was another one who kind of got carried by Morgan to that point.
Yugi just kept winning challenges.
Yeah, they just kept winning.
Super easy to survive when you never lose.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was so funny as well. He was like, I'm abstaining from the challenge so they don't see me as a threat. And then he gets voted out that same tribal, and we're like, oh boy. He was like, they knew I was too powerful.
Didn't that happen to Hugh? Didn't that happen to Hugh this season?
That did happen to you this season.
That did happen
correct?
to you.
We'll get to that later, but yeah, sometimes it's just best to try.
It's
you never
best to
know
try,
when you need it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If the only way to completely guarantee that you're not going home is to have that immunity, so sometimes it's just best to have it.
Even if it's to stop someone you don't want from getting it, to get it.
Exactly.
Like, anyway, I think Yugi was in a pretty good spot pre-merge. Like, Yugi started off quite good. I remember Lee and Dan and Yugi and Miles having a thing, but because Yugi just basically disappeared after a while, then, yeah, his game just kind of fell flat. So next we have at 89, Kayla from Amazon.
So disappointing, honestly.
Yeah.
I was also really looking forward to like seeing her play. Basically the best way to sum it up was she paled in comparison to a bunch of others and ended up like, I just remember she was completely on the outs for a few votes. Like, she wasn't even voting in the minority. She was just a stray vote going randomly because no one was filling her in. And she wasn't trying too hard to make sure that wasn't happening. But then she formed a duo with 666.
That took her to the
And-
end. Well, almost to the end.
Almost took her to the end. She basically like they were quite cute to watch. I think she basically became his goat. And then he didn't take her to the end because he thought Moss was a bigger goat.
Boys, take notice. May thinks goats are cute. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Yeah.
They are. How? Okay, now. Does anyone else have anything else to say about Kayla? No? I'll take that as a no.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think
All
so.
right. So at 88, we have Sylvia from Pearl Islands, who was really interesting. Does anyone else want to talk about her?
I think she had
guys.
I think she kind of had crazy start almost. She was gonna do a whole bunch of tribe.
Mm.
Well, she was
I remember.
she's in a pretty good position to start, but then same thing. She's just on a losing tribe, and as the numbers get down, there's no place to hide, and every social relationship matters. And I know she had burned some bridges, especially with SMM, up until that point. Then that's when Joey and SMM started to get close, and it just spiraled.
Not just that, but when she was in a negative spot, she didn't do herself any favors, like by getting in the good graces of people. When you're in a situation like that, you've got to want to try to appeal to their human side, and to like save yourself and like show that they're like, it's in their best interest to work with you, rather than just call them names and throw out insults, because that's not going to make them want to keep you anymore, which is something that she did, which like really negatively affected her, especially on the Outcast tribe as well, where she just like was just
She reaffirmed
not
the
well
negativity people thought, rather than trying to correct it through positivity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I remember she was busted really early on basically promising to be everyone's number one. And when people started exchanging notes, they were like, "Uh-oh,
Yeah.
she's
Oh
playing
yeah, she was a
us."
serial conversation repeater.
Yeah. And so that was Sylvia. And at 87, this is our first 2.0. And so whenever we say 2.0, it basically means this is the second time. This is the second time they played. We're ranking the second time they played. So if we're saying 2.0, it's because they were in All Stars. So at 87, we have Navi 2.0. So Navi's performance in All Stars.
Oh, there's a lot.
Marcy, I feel like you should go off on this because she was in your tribe.
I really liked Navi. I think she was very, very misinterpreted, almost very underrated. Not underrated in terms of a gameplay thing, because we've like got her as the lowest All Star, but underrated as a person to work with. She was almost time zone screwed, not really, but what I find with Discord is that there's a lot of people that like don't have full-time 5 a.m. jobs like she does. So she has to get up at like 4 o'clock because she has a breakfast radio show. And so then she's waking up on a weird time zone time, and she's not active for the challenge times, and it just makes talking to her a bit rough. So she was inactive. I did try to save her with the gummy vote, but unfortunately we lost back to back there, and I just decided to cut my losses and like just say goodbye, as opposed to fight a losing battle and just like go down the drain with her.
And part of it, she was able to save herself. I think it was at a point where Navi asked Gummy like what the vote was, and Gummy was like, "Oh, sorry, it's going to be you." And then she took full advantage of that.
She just went, so this has
Able to
happened,
help.
this happened, and went to me and was like, all right, this is what he said. And I'm like, okay, we might be able to do something here. And so we both went to work, and yeah, she was able to save herself for that first tribal, but once again, just the perception of that inactivity really killed her.
We saw the same thing in original Amazon gameplay. I mean, in my opinion, Navi is the scariest when she knows she's the target. Like she will grind, she will work, she will manipulate the public view to make sure that she is not the target when she knows she is.
Yeah. It's a shame we couldn't see that, but it's minimal. Like all the.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
All
it's
Stars,
rough
there's
in
always
All
going to be
Stars.
someone
Everyone's
that falls
robbed.
short.
And
Just like
so
our
the
next
next
person.
Yep, that's right. 86, we have Dirk 2.0. So Dirk
Poor
in
Dirk.
All Stars.
Poor Dirk.
Everyone's called him like inactive for the whole season, like after he went. He really wasn't that inactive. Like he was definitely less chatty than a bunch of others, and he was so busy with work and like conferences and meetings. Like you felt bad for him. And I do think if he, like, similar to Navi, I feel like if he knew he was the vote, he could have done something about it. On the day tribal happened, he just kind of was dipping in and out. So he'd send someone a message going, "Hey, can we vote together?" And he'd disappear for 2 hours, come back and be like, "Okay, what name have you heard?" And you'd answer, but he'd be disappeared again for like another 2 hours. And everyone just threw their votes onto Dirk. And everyone
Tyler do a
told him
really mean-spirited play on
Tyler
him.
did something that broke my
Yeah.
heart. I remember both TML and I just being quite annoyed by it.
Nah, you guys are soft. I think it's hilarious.
You find basically Tyler made a group chat with like a bunch of people telling Dirk that, hey, I want to work with me, you, TML, and May. And then he said, okay, let's all vote Hugh. We've got a majority. So of course Dirk believes it because no one is extra enough to make a full group chat if they're lying. I
And
think
there's
that's
someone.
the perception most people have, unless you're Tyler, apparently. And so poor Dirk was like convinced the vote was Hugh, and he was completely blindsided. Tragic.
A lot
I
of the
feel
early
so
pre-merge
bad for
votes
him.
were.
Yeah,
Was
a
that
lot of that stuff happened there with the blindsides and stuff like that in All Stars. I feel like Dirk and Navi were really the two votes that were somewhat clear cut, and even Dirk didn't see it coming.
So next we have at 85, Ketty from Borneo. Jack, do you remember much about Ketty?
Not really.
Not really.
I don't even know what tribe
Um,
they were on.
Ketty was in Nick's tribe. Ketty was in not Taji, but Gong.
Pagong.
And
Yeah.
so when everyone went against Sis for being just in case of an all girls alliance happening at Merge, Ketty was stuck by Sis's side basically, and he voted with her, and he voted Nick. And we'll get to Nick later, but Nick is extremely vengeful, and he said if Ketty is going to vote me once, Ketty is going to vote me again. So at Merge, even though it was a 5-5 split, Nick just said, hey, Taji, I'm coming to your side as long as you vote Ketty with me. I'll flip if you vote Ketty. And because Taji loved Nick and believed everything he said, they all just voted Ketty with him. And so Ketty tried to save himself. I know Ketty tried going to Taji and warning them that, like, hey, Nick is this devious little snake. Don't believe him. But people trusted Nick more. And so poor Ketty was like the Akka to 666, but like 666 being Nick and Ketty being Akka. Does that make any sense?
Did
Like,
Ketty make Merge?
Ketty made
Yeah.
Merge. He was
Not
the
not Merge.
first
Sorry,
Merge.
Jury rather.
No.
No,
No,
he was
this is right
just
before.
robbed off jury.
Oh, okay.
And so that's Ketty's story. I feel bad for him. He's a sweet kid.
If anyone wants to know how Nick thinks, watch that Borneo podcast. It's when May says revenge, I mean it's
Yeah.
literally just, hey Nick, why'd you vote this way? Well, they voted for me. They thought about voted for me. They didn't think about me. It's all just vengeance, and I love it.
It's just vengeance. I'm pretty sure the thing he said was, he was like, I voted him because that bitch tried to vote me out.
Yep.
Like his exact phrasing.
Very cutthroat.
We love him for it though. So
Don't go against
next,
the king.
don't go against Nick. Or if you're gonna go against him, don't tell him.
Yep.
So
sure
then
if you shoot, don't
Oop.
miss.
Exactly.
you shoot, don't miss. At 84, we have Andrew from Thailand.
No,
Maybe
I
known
don't
as
think he was-
Ellipticon for other people.
I don't think he was
Right.
the most.
I've seen him as
Right.
Ellipticon on other servers.
Ah.
Jack, what's up?
I don't think he was the most liked person on Suchai. Like
No.
throughout the early pre-merge. Besides Scott, but
I do
think a
believe
big
that he
part of
didn't.
Oh, you go first.
I do believe that he didn't. He didn't think that he wasn't well liked either. That was a big issue that he had.
Yeah, he didn't.
He thought he
Thought
was in
doing no
control.
good. Yep. I think a big part of people not liking him was he was on a younger tribe. He was on a younger tribe, and he was flexing his knowledge of Survivor with people who didn't know Survivor as well. Like, he knew about the fake merge. He knew about, like, all the small stuff. And while I think he was genuinely being helpful when he was saying that, some of the people took it as, oh, he's
Against.
telling us what to do and all this stuff, whereas I don't think that was really his intention.
like just came off the
He,
wrong way to the rest of the tribe.
Right.
He was very, very upset when he got voted out. I remember.
Yeah.
Well, he was rewarded with 12th place gang. So.
He was
That's
rewarded.
true. But he
True.
also he continued his confessionals afterwards, just talking shit on everyone as well. I love that.
I do love when
was
players
so
use their
iconic.
confessionals after and they still give their perspectives. Like, he'd
Mm.
cheer when people get voted out. He was Andrew, you're a good guy. You're a fun guy.
Still active in the server. I saw him talking just yesterday. So
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, he does Brant steals all the time.
He's our local Brant Steel guy, exactly.
A Brant Steel man. And so, shall we move on to 83?
yes,
So at 83, we have Chorus from Marquesas. This man dodged elimination. Like, this man just kept dodging, like, being voted out so many times. Like, every single tribal he went to, his name was the name until it wasn't. Like, it was mad. Leafy, were you ever on a tribe with him?
Yep, I voted him out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's funny is that the people that ended up voting it out were not his original tribe mates, but it was the swap tribe That's when Scooby, Amy, Josh, and I were placed on a tribe and threw every single thing that we touched.
Yes.
So he was just a victim of that. But I think the hard part was I did genuinely try to flip and work with that side. And then he brought that straight to Amy. And then that's just sort of like, okay, no good. And then they just got eliminated one by one.
Yeah.
I think, was he the one that convinced Amy there was an idol in a season without idols?
I think that was
No,
Zach.
that was Jingles.
That was Jingle. Never mind then.
I remember about Koro, so he hosted me in an org, so I was really excited to see how he would play.
He was, out of the 3 swap screwed row 2 that went out one by one through you guys throwing, he was the last one to go. And I
Yep.
think that is because Amy really liked him.
Amy did. Amy would protect him at every point, but then wouldn't flip on them. Wouldn't flip on Scooby and Josh with me.
Yeah. Oh, Amy. Yeah, Marquesas was very tribal lines.
Yeah. Very old
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
Very
Everyone
old school.
except for Bryson.
Everyone except for Bryson, who was
Literally
like,
everyone
I
except
hate
for
my
Bryson.
tribe.
He was basically
And
part of our
Josh.
tribe.
Josh tried it as well.
That's the theme of the season, though. People trying the flip and failing.
Unless you're Bryson.
Unless you're Bryson. He was basically a part of our tribe.
Yeah, like when I found out at the end that he wasn't part of the tribe, I was like, wait, hang on, what? Like, I was shook. I was like, I swear he was part of the yellow. No, he wasn't. He just hated his other tribe.
Yes, he really did. Bryson's a guy who hates a lot of things.
Hero of
And
the
so
season.
then next, at 82 from Thailand, we have 12.
The class clown of
God.
Thailand.
Oh,
Chewy
class
gone.
clown.
Very memey guy.
Another Chewy gone, like, victim of, like, a bad tribe.
A bad tribe. He made merge because what ended up happening was Madeline and Cassie ended up flipping back because I remember Bite and 12 worked together. But they ended up flipping back to 12 and going because they thought 12 would stay loyal to them. So then he got that going for him. So then when they made merge together,
Fake merge.
Fake merge.
No, the merge. When they made the merge together, like final 8.
Sorry.
What ended up happening was like basically Sukjai wanted to stay tribe strong for 1 vote, and 12 just rubbed people the wrong way. Like that was pretty much it. People liked Cassie and Madeline more, so 12 was the easy vote, is what I thought.
Pretty much.
And plus,
Pretty much.
he'll go down as like the latest merge boot, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the final 8 merge. And at 81, who I think will be our final one for this episode as well. At 81 is someone else from Thailand who went straight after 12 as well, and it was Alexis.
That was when
Sukjai.
they finally decided not to just stick it out. Like,
Right.
taking it.
That was the strangest elimination. But because it wasn't going to be Alexis, it was going to be Ryan, and then Madeline was like, nah.
I'll take over while Breeze goes
Bree's
off
also
real
a
quick.
Ryan fan, apparently, but yeah, keep
Yeah,
going.
no, understandable. Ryan is a very good comp player, so I wouldn't
Yes.
blame Alexis for rather Madeline for liking it. But yeah, it's just very strange. They just happened very quickly, and one of those ones where it's like a victim of the old game where something changes and you don't have much time to react and flip it back somewhere. You've got to be proactive rather than reactive.
So with like 24 hours, they could have potentially changed something, but
Yeah. And either way, I think throughout the whole game, especially during the merge, I think Alexis was kind of perceived to be Tyler's GOAT, like Tyler's second in command, like Tyler was making the social connections with Madeline and Cassie, and he was just kind of stringing Alexis along, is how I think she was perceived. Or at least that's how I saw it.
No, I agree. It was very much Tyler plus friends, and Alexis was number 1 friend.
And so when she was voted out, I think it kind of added to Tyler's story because he had to fight more.
Right.
And that is the first, can I count?
Like
24? 34.
34. There was a lot this episode. It's not going to be
Yeah.
as much in all the episodes. We wanted to get it like around a lot of the quitters, a lot of the inactives, so that we can get into some real juicy
In
stuff.
the meat.
You can't
Yeah,
do me.
And so, yeah, thank you for listening. Next, we're going to have from our top 80 all the way to our top 60. So,
60.
like, we're going to do the next 20. And so, stay tuned for that. It should be coming out. Are we
Very
releasing
soon.
these on the same day? Soon.
No,
it
I'd-
should be coming out very soon. Thank you
Hey,
for listening and have a good day.
Alumni, make sure you vote in the polls that we have open.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
please
Yes,
go
please
to
do.
Polls for Alumni. We only have like 30 votes on the birthday bash, and I want to celebrate some birthdays.
I was more talking the other one, but that one too.
Oh yeah, the
Fucking
DMs
idiot.
I was
versus
more
one on
talking
one
the
on
future
the
of the
chat.
Mate,
server,
no one
but that
cares
too.
about birthdays. We just want to know
I care
what to do
about
with the server.
birthdays.
Versus
Oh my
birthday.
god, birthdays are so
Alright.
much more important. Anyway.
All right, peace out, lads.